Hello, hello, it's me, Fizzy, and welcome to my not Deltarune Let's Play. But wait, don't go. We're still talking about Deltarune and Undertale and Dr. Gaster. We just finished our Deltarune Chapter 1 and 2 experience. I have not done the weird route yet. Still debating whether or not I would like to. I guess it's a little selfish, but I would like to try that route if I can somehow manage to do it without disrupting my current save file, if that makes sense, like its own separate entity. Don't touch my save file, it's too pure. Actually, I already saved over Chris's save file. That's another question I have. What happens when chapters 1 through 7 are all released, Deltarune is complete, and someone plays through from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 7 without saving over Chris's save file? Can it be done? What will happen? This is what I love about this game. There's just so many questions, so many unanswered questions, so many fan theories, so much speculation, and I love doing all this stuff. I love participating in the conversation. The comment section in my Let's Plays for Deltarune and Undertale have been amazing. I love sifting through, looking at all the information. There's some comments I haven't been able to touch because I haven't watched this video yet. It was recommended by a lot of different people. I've never done any kind of reaction content before, so I'm sorry if it's scuffed. So the video we're watching today is who Dr. Gaster is and why that matters to Deltarune. This video was created for us by Misty Sparkles. Well, not for us like me. That sounds a little selfish. I more so meant for the world. Thank you, Misty Sparkles. We appreciate you and this video. I don't do this for myself because I don't really like doing it, but since I am... Oh, I'm not even subscribed. I was about to ask all of you who have not already to show Misty Sparkles some love with a like on the video, a subscription, if you think you'll continue watching their content. But I then realized I hadn't done any of that stuff myself. But I guess that's okay because I hadn't watched the video yet. We fixed it. As you can see, we're subscribed and we like the video. And I suggest you do the same too. Anyways, now let's go ahead and get started.
Recently, I saw a comment of someone genuinely not knowing why people were so obsessed with Undertale character Dr. W.D GASTER in regards to Deltarune. The replies were people either agreeing and not knowing the significance of the character on a meta level, neither canon nor fanon, or people being just as—
Whoa, what was that? Wait, hold on. How do I go back? I'm bad at YouTube. I'm bad at moving through videos without being obnoxious. But hold on. I knew about Gaster. I didn't know about Gaster, but I knew that Gaster was an entity. But that's about it. So I'm not coming in completely dead zero like these comments they're talking about, but I figured Gaster would be important. But that's not why I paused. I wanted to pause to go back to wait.
Canon nor fanon.
Yeah! Who drew that? You're amazing. Why does he look like the Bone Brothers?
Or people being just as floored as I am that others are missing the obvious hints. Then I realized—
Did that say skeleton?
Popularity reached a peak around 2016.
I shouldn't
have sworn. That was years ago now. Dr. Gaster was a big point of interest, and all the evidence of his existence and significance is basically buried on fan wikis and ancient Tumblr posts, which may or may not even exist anymore. If you played—
When I was creating thumbnails, I had to hunt down like sprites and PNGs and things like that for Deltarune and Undertale. And let me tell you, the spoiler minefield that I had to carefully tiptoe through. Ooh, those wiki pages, though. I am so excited to get into them now that I've been unshackled. I am free. I can explore the lore.
Undertale in isolation right now, it's likely you will just never find out about any of this. You either need to be able to decompile the game, or you just need the internet where other people can do that more easily and find out all about it there.
Not me. I don't know how to do that.
In contrast, I knew who Dr. Gaster was before I even played the game. That's how big of a deal he was seen in the early months of the fandom. That has waned over time because There is no conclusion to Dr. Gaster. He existed in the world of Undertale, now he doesn't. We can't.
I'm sure the interest is going to skyrocket along with Deltarune's release. I'm sure. Ooh, this is so cool. I'm pausing a lot just so I don't talk over the video. I don't want to miss anything. I'm sorry if that bugs you in that style of content.
Can't even be 100% sure what he even looks like.
Wait, if we don't know what he looks like, why are... how did we come to the conclusion to use the specific model or sprite that we're using for him? I guess that'll be answered.
So here's a video explaining who the hell Dr. W.D GASTER is and why he's painfully significant to Deltarune. Yay! I'm going to try to list things as objectively as humanly possible, as much Gaster information and content has since been overrun by fanon, since you kind of had to make things up if you wanted to make any fan content for him. I will try to make it clear when I am neither speculating or repeating a popular fan theory, okay? Here we go. There is a hidden character in Undertale named Dr. W.D GASTER. He was Asgore's former royal scientist before Dr. Alphys. You can find out about him through hidden NPCs that...
Did he train Alphys? Wait, so has Alphys met Dr. No, okay, hold on.
Can rarely be seen during regular gameplay and can be manipulated into appearing through simple edits
That's
of
where Great Flames Man stands.
Using an otherwise useless mechanic, the fun value.
I know what fun value
is a random number generated at the start of a playthrough, and depending on what number you get, many things will possibly occur. Here's a handy chart I found on the Undertale wiki. These gray monochrome NPCs will tell you a story about how Dr. Gaster was a brilliant scientist who created the core in Hotland, but then fell into his creation. It can be inferred that the creation is the core, since it was mentioned shortly after the comment about him making it, but the Gaster followers' dialogue can be just vague enough to make me doubt literally anything they say. After he fell into his creation, Gaster seemed to have vanished, implied to have been erased from existence entirely, probably even everyone's memory.
Is that Monster Kid? Okay, these gray NPCs.
He was said to be shattered across time and space. The very hidden log known as entry number 17 can be found by easily editing the files to room 264. This room is labeled room_Gaster in the files of the game. The entry is written entirely in all caps Wingdings font. It can therefore be easily assumed that the WD stands for Wingdings.
That's so cool! Wait, hold on, no, don't say anything! He's named after a font! Wait, we're just speculating he's named after a font, right? Papyrus and Sands and he's a bone man? Is this where this is going? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just so excited.
Dr. Wingdings Gaster might also be a skeleton, considering the theme of naming skeletons after fonts, and them speaking their text boxes in those fonts. It's also entirely possible that Gaster is just the Aster font with a G tacked on. He gets 2. In entry number 17, once translated into actual words, reads what seems to be the middle of a conversation about an experiment. Entry number 17. Dark, darker, yet darker. The darkness keeps growing, the shadows cutting deeper. Photon reading is negative. This next experiment seems very, very interesting. What do you two think? It's my Gaster voice, I hope you like it.
I did it. I just named one of my videos Dark, Darker, Yet Darker, and I didn't realize the significance. It was something that Sham said. Sham said something very similar to that. And when I looked it up to get the quote correct, I found a bunch of like Gaster related things in like a song. And then I got scared and immediately closed the tab and then just named the video that with just thinking that it had, that Sham was talking about. I did. Oh, okay.
Remember the phrases very, very interesting and darker yet darker. They are important for our purposes. Please also remember this very distinct sound that plays while entry 17 is being read.
It's a garbage noise!
There are also apparently battle stats for Gaster hidden in the files of the game. Every stat, defense,
Monster
attack,
name 666?
and even the money payout upon defeat is just a series of 6s. If the fun value is at 66, either by way of pure 1 in 1,000 chance luck or by file editing, there is a 10% chance that you can find a gray door and waterfall that leads to a small room with this sprite. This sprite is called Mystery Man. Because of the fun value needing to be set at 66 and the battle stats all being 6s, this is the commonly assumed appearance of Gaster. It's technically speculation, but I feel like it would be genuinely weird if this didn't turn out to be him.
Seeing him on the map makes it look like do I have my cursor here? Perfect, I do. This bottom part of his body, like these are his hands, but like he has his hands on his lap and he's sitting on something and his legs are obscured. It's either that or it's like a large gown, but it almost looks like he's sitting on something that he's blending into very heavily. But that's specifically from this perspective here. Seeing this sprite on its own never made me think that. He always looked like he was standing up to me.
This sprite can easily be seen as resembling a distorted cartoon skeleton, perfectly in line with the somewhat unorthodox skull shapes of Papyrus and especially Sans. The distortion also lines up with being not whole, since Gaster was shattered across time and space. He has no nose, no legs, no visible arms, nothing that can even be interpreted as fingers, and generally looks a little melted. Him being melted and goopy is basically universally accepted fanon.
Okay.
But it's extremely possible in canon if he did in fact fall into the core, the thing harvesting searing geothermal energy. But speculation. I want to quickly say my own little theory here, so making it clear right now what I'm about to say is theory. I really do think that this Mystery Man sprite has to be Dr. Gaster, not just because of the 6s, but because seemingly every fun value event is somehow related to Gaster. Other events include Sans prank calling you. Sans is implied to be somehow connected to Gaster. Alphys accidentally calls you when she's trying to order a pizza. Alphys is brought up a few times by the followers and shares Gaster's position as a royal scientist. The sound test room is only notable for containing Gaster's theme. 4 of the events are Gaster followers, and there's one involving the mascot, Icy, who was brought up once in all of Undertale by Sans, but is a prominent corporate mascot in the world of Deltarune. The misfits here seem to be the Wrong Number song, and for a few years, Clam Girl. Clam Girl is an NPC.
I got Clam Girl. I didn't realize the significance of Clam Girl until a couple commenters pointed it out in my last video. Not my last video, that'd be silly. In some of my Undertale videos. One person pointed it out during the finale, and one person pointed it out when I initially walked by them and talked to them, and I was like, Susie, who are you talking about? Whatever. That's, okay, we actually got a really cool fun event, and that, when I was told that this was a fun event, I was super excited about it.
In Waterfall who talks about her neighbor's daughter, Susie. This now adds up in retrospect, but even more than that, when the Switch port came out, if you got Clam Girl by sheer dumb luck and talked to her after you beat the final boss, Azrael, she goes grayscale and says the time you will meet Susie is fast approaching. Deltarune Chapter 1 came out a little over a month later. The Wrong Number phone call is the most vague, but they ask if they can talk to someone whose name starts with a G. You'd think Gaster, but hey, it could be Grillby or Gerson. It could be G Spampton. Oh my god, I don't know. I don't think silly. This G was put here for no good reason, though. However, I can't tell you with any amount of certainty what I think it stands for. I think Gaster might be the explanation here, but that might be
pretty connected
bias.
To the phone.
So, theory over. Back to the Mystery Man sprite. The only other sprite that could possibly be him appears in a debug room, which is just for developer testing, and therefore might have no actual significance on actual canon. This could have possibly just been for making sure the Wingdings font was working properly, but I'm not going to rule this sprite out. Something also notable, but doesn't tell us too much, is that the skulls Sans uses to shoot lasers when he megalovanias you are called Gaster Blasters.
I don't want to fight Sans. Oh.
In the files. This does at least tell us that Sans has got to have something to do with Gaster. Sans is also seemingly good friends with Alphys, but no one really knew that. and they seem to have worked on a mysterious mystery machine together.
Wait.
Not that one. Because the handwriting is said to be very bad on the blueprints, and it's said several times that Alfie's handwriting is very bad. As mentioned before, there is a hidden sound room in Snowden, activated by Fun Value that includes Gaster's theme. A simple, creepy melody. Once it is playing, it cannot be stopped.
Oh, I wonder if you jumble this up, you can find the garbage noise in there.
If you try to put the name Gaster at the beginning of either Undertale or Deltarune, the game immediately crashes the second you put in the last letter. You don't even hit enter, it just crashes. Now.
Oh, hold on, I want to read that. I love text. Don't put text in front of me and not let me read it.
It just
Clarification, if you name the fallen child or your vessel Gaster, it will take you back to the intro or start. If you name yourself Gaster, Deltarune will close itself. Oh, that's right, because you can name yourself and the vessel. Cool, awesome.
Crashes. Now, what does any of that Undertale bullshit have to do with Deltarune? Everything. This has everything to do with Deltarune. You know how Undertale characters feature prominently in Deltarune? I'm halfway convinced Gaster is actually a Deltarune character that somehow weaseled his way into Undertale.
Oh,
in a tweet regarding Chapter
and that's
2,
what if I shouldn't say that, but what if Sans and Papyrus are in the same boat because they just appeared out of nowhere in the underground, right? And if Alphys is friends with Sans, what was that creepy room? The room with that Misty mentioned with the it had like a sheet in the corner and the blueprints with the bad writing. What was that about? I need to look into that.
Has said he's glad Deltarune is being seen as its own thing, rather than just purely in its relation to Undertale. Which it should be. It is its own game. Most of the main characters are unique to Deltarune, and it has its own separate story and world.
Dude?
But even if Deltarune is its own thing, its own universe where no plot points from Undertale ever carry over, Deltarune can't be divorced from Undertale. Undertale is context for things that happen in Deltarune. Whenever you download it anywhere, it always is sure to say it's a game for people who have finished Undertale. Many characters from Undertale reappear here, some even being entirely unchanged. Hi, Sans. Many just have a change of costume or career and are otherwise the same person. There are many jokes that fall completely flat if you're not familiar with Undertale. Who's Alphys? A joke that hammers in that this is an alternate universe. A book so you don't forget the name of Hot's Fire Guy.
Hot's Fire Guy!
One's really obscure if you only finish Undertale once. Asriel has a picture of a flower on his wall.
Wait,
the plots
what?
in the graveyard are the...
Was there an actual joke to that? I'm gonna rewatch this part because I talked over a little bit. Was there an actual joke to Heat's Flames Man, or are they intentionally changing his name on us on purpose? Let me just replay that.
A book so you don't forget the name of Hot's Fire Guy. That one's really obscure if you...
Heat's Flames Man? I don't know if he gave me that name.
Only finished Undertale once.
Well, I did only finish Undertale once, so obviously I'm missing that reference.
Has a picture of a flower on his wall. The plots in the graveyard are the Amalgamates. The first time we meet Deltarune Asgore directly mirrors when we meet him in Undertale.
That was eerie for me.
Neo is literally using Mettaton Neo's body, and the song Power of Neo plays exactly how it was presented in Undertale within Spamton Neo's battle theme.
That's the battle theme?!
Neo is known for its high defense. Comparisons to Undertale are inevitable, and obviously Toby Fox knows this, he's making them himself. I think the desire is more to not think of Deltarune as just Undertale 2, or assuming it's the same universe and that the pacifist or murder roots are going to affect it at all. So I'm not saying that Deltarune and Undertale are somehow secretly directly linked and the story is all going to come back around to Undertale. I don't want it to. I like Deltarune for being Deltarune. It is its own story, but doing so riddled with references to the game that is its direct predecessor. Hell, I don't even necessarily think that the Gaster in Undertale is the Gaster in Deltarune, but
Really?
I think it's reasonable to assume we can use the information from Undertale and apply it here. The association with the number 6, the similar way his dialogue gets formatted are very basic things that would probably get carried over to a different version of the character. With that said, Gaster has an absolutely undeniable presence in Deltarune, more so than he ever had in Undertale.
Oh my god! Is he the one... Did Spamton and Jevil meet Gaster? Is Gaster... Oh... Gaster was talking to us at the... Are we working for Gaster? Do we work with Gaster? Was I created by Gaster? Oh, God.
Predates the game Deltarune itself. Deltarune.com has existed since, I believe, 2015, 3 years before Chapter 1 came out, and the year Undertale itself came out. On it was a dark image called him.png that, if Brighton, would show the text in all caps wingding font reading, "This next experiment seems very, very interesting." Then it changed to another message in all caps wingdings describing the plot of Deltarune. 3 heroes appear to banish the angels' heaven. It's Dr. Gaster. I don't know why I'd need to go on because of how obviously Gaster is god of the Deltaverse, but I will. Also note that both those images are called him.png. There is a file related to Gaster in Undertale called him, and the song that plays in the intro of Chapter 1 is called Another Hymn. Another Gaster. 2 of them. Then there was a series of surprise tweets on the Undertale Twitter on October 30th, 2018. These tweets are written in all caps with odd spacing, very reminiscent of Entry 17.
Oh, that's so cool!
Welcome. Have you been looking for me? How wonderful! I have been looking for you as well. I have something I want to show you.
This must have been so fun to be a part of.
Something I think you will find very, very interesting. I'll admit, when very, very interesting popped up in these tweets, I just about had a goddamn heart attack. Then Chapter 1 actually comes out. At its beginning, we have most likely the same ominous voice as was on Twitter narrating to us. I can't believe Twitter was actually useful for something.
Oh,
Another hymn playing. There's no hint bombs, like very, very interesting in this opening, but it is using all caps in the same distinct spacing. I assume the reason it's not in Wingdings is because we need to be able to read it. It wouldn't be very big shot of Gaster to make the seizure warning indecipherable. So if you want to be like a smartass and say, but he's not speaking in Wingdings, shut up. When the style of speaking is dropped and it's written in proper capitalization, theory time, there is an actually very compelling theory involving the Japanese translation that might suggest that this is the original fallen child default name Kara, whatever, from Undertale, who is already a similarly ominous presence, has taken over and hijacked the character creator, assigning you to Chris, a teenager not unlike Chara. Of course, since there are so many similarities between the 2 characters, you could also assume that this might have been Chris themselves, but that's going into vague, unprovable theory territory. Also, I'm not saying that this is the same Chara. It's very...
Okay, this theory crossed my mind at some point too. Just because I have ran into some well, I guess I shouldn't call them spoilers for the genocide. I've chosen to not play the genocide route myself, but I'm still up in the air as to whether or not I should watch a no commentary run and possibly record it for YouTube. So I'm trying to stay away from genocide information, but at the same time, it's not the biggest deal in the world if I hear it. And I've seen some information about the genocide run in Chara, and it briefly crossed my mind if Chara somehow was in there with Gaster, or if Chara... if something happened with Chara and Gaster that put Chara in a position to be able to manipulate us, because it the way that we manipulate Chris feels very Chara and very flowy like. I don't have a full formed thought about this up here, but it is something that briefly flashed through my brain holes, and I am so happy that this is actually kind of a theory out there.
Possible that there is a separate Chara in Deltarune. However, I like to think it's the same one, and they're dead now and are venturing between universes, and Gaster has to babysit his boss's kid for all eternity. Anyway, finally we get to the actual game. Let me stress that all of that I just cited was before the actual game begins. In the actual game, the main plot is about Chris and Susie, two teenagers that discover a dark world in the school supply closet. Come chapter 2, there appear to be multiple dark worlds, with new ones being created. What might this remind us of? The darkness keeps growing, the shadows cutting deeper, photon readings negative.
The shadows cutting deeper. The shadow crystals!
As if it had the same properties as light.
They're sharp.
I think photon readings would have to be negative in order to do that. Also, if you look at Deltarune's information, at least when it was just chapter 1, I haven't checked since, the version is labeled 6.6.6. I don't know why Gaster is Satan, just go with it.
And also, the garbage noise, that's all you hear when you're down there. That's all you hear when you call the phone is the garbage noise. Well, I always refer to it as down there, but because for some reason, my brain just feels like when you go into a dark fountain, you're shrinking like Minish style.
But wait, theory. Gaster fell into the core, and Deltarune is about an angel. Gaster's a fallen angel. Anyway, when you defeat these so hard, it literally took me 3 years to beat him. Bonus boss Jevil. He either spouts off something about the night, yet another vague ominous entity, or if you fight him, he foreshadows Chapter 2's queen. Jevil is off. He's too giggly for comfort, doesn't always use the correct words or grammar, is absolutely obsessed with chaos, and seems to be aware that he's in a game. Also, I love him and he'll never know that. Once you beat him, you can go to plush toy cat shopkeeper Sham, who has officially ruined how I read the word seam, then we'll explain Jevil's deal. He met someone strange, someone who no one really knows who it was. After that, Jevil went fucking coconuts and started babbling about how everything was just a game. Nothing here is damning evidence until Sham says that because of this, their view of this world has grown darker yet darker.
See, that's what... Oh!
What an oddly specific way of phrasing that, Sham. When Chapter 2 came around, the mystery narrator that we were presuming is Gaster returned to Twitter. No telling quotes here, but I want to point out how funny I find it that Gaster narrator thanks us for our patience in these difficult times. Not even being shattered across time and space keeps you safe from COVID. Gaster was out of work for like 3 months. It was terrible. Chapter 2 is pretty straightforward at the start, even if you're, murdering. When we get to the bonus boss of this chapter in the normal route, Spamton and his Neo form, things become vague and ominous very quickly. After you beat Spamton Neo, the personifications of internet advertisements, the Addisons, all go to the garbage dump where Spamton has been living.
Oh, that's
and when
what they
talking
are.
to them one by one, Spamton's sad backstory is revealed. He was an Addison like them. He still is, really. He has the same permanent smile, the same tasteful V-neck sweater, and the same nose. It took me far too long to notice their similarities, so I need to validate that by explaining it to you like it's new information.
Thank
he was
you,
very
it's new
unlucky
to me.
and never got attention until he suddenly started spending all of his time on the phone with someone.
Connect.
No one knows who it was, but suddenly Spamton was awfully popular to the point where all the other Addisons stopped hanging out with him because they felt unneeded. I'd like to point out that this game made me feel bad for ads. Jesus Christ. Eventually, whoever was calling suddenly disappeared. While not perfectly fitting the puzzle pieces, I will say Gaster seems to have a real talent for suddenly disappearing from existence. But more than that, is the final Addison says that he went to check on Spamton after Spamton got evicted from Queen's Mansion. They didn't find Spamton, but found his phone with a receiver off the hook. When the Addison tried to see who Spamton had been talking to, they said they heard nothing but garbage noise. What makes that relevant is that if you try to use Chris's cell phone in the dark world, it plays the exact sound that plays in Entry 17, a sound effect that
everywhere.
Isn't used at all anywhere else in the game in this state.
It's so good. Oh my god.
And describes the sound as nothing but garbage noise. It's pretty much accepted that Jevil and Spamton were driven mad by the same mysterious force, but for a long time it wasn't terribly clear who that was. Many people were convinced it was Gaster, as he's the most vague, ominous, unnamed presence we have. He can tell them the true nature of the world they live in.
I wonder if Chris has met Gaster, and Chris is trying to save themselves from the same fate as Jevil and Spamton. Maybe not directly met Gaster, but maybe Rousey explained to Chris what was going on in Chapter 1 during that conversation that we missed. Rousey knows something.
Because he, more than anyone, seems to be aware of how much of a video game this is. But many thought it was the Knight, also mysterious and vague. No one knew what the Knight's deal was, so it seemed reasonable to assume. Some people even thought they were the same person, that Gaster is the Knight. However, the end of Chapter 2 gave us a very compelling candidate for the Knight, so Knight Gaster may be less likely now. But with this garbage noise point that...
If Chris is the Knight, I think they're being manipulated by Gaster, and so are we, the vessel. Like, Gaster wants us and Chris together for some reason. There's so much to speculate, and it's hard because I'll have these like half-baked ideas in my brain, and I'll start, yeah, theory, and then just wait a second. How is that theory supposed to end?
Cannot be a coincidence. Toby Fox is the writer. He's really good with sound. He approves everything that goes into the game.
Yes.
He knew what this was going to be implying. So that is the undeniable, surreal breadcrumb trail of W.D GASTER. I want to go over some things that could be damning evidence, but might also just be a coincidence. One thing is Gaster's theme. Undertale and Deltarune are known to reuse tunes, usually for very relevant reasons, like when characters have connections. Maybe it's just the main theme of the game and sneaks its way into half the tracks.
Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
The music in this game makes me so emotional. I can't listen to Asgore's version of Heartache without... I really can't. It's even there too! You're not supposed to make me emotional right now! Oh, I didn't even hear it there. Is watching back and playing back all of this making me so emotional. I just finished this game.
Show up a few other times in Undertale, and seems like it shows up a lot more in Deltarune.
I'm already attached.
I can't be entirely sure though, because Gaster's theme is very simple. It's 4 creepy sounding notes strung together, and then again in a different pitch.
It sounds like something you'd hear in, like, 70s slashers.
Some instances of what sounds like Gaster's theme might actually not be it, but rather because there's a simple melody that might share 2 notes with Gaster's theme. this might be on purpose. It's so short and simple, actively...
It's weird, those 3 examples that Misty gave, the first one, in regards to being related to Gaster's theme. Now, I am not good. I am not a musician. I have a hard time hearing things unless they're pointed out to me. But for some reason, the Gaster theme and the first song that they used as an example they just felt the same. I don't know what it was that I was picking on. The other 2, not so much. I couldn't hear it. But the first one, oh my god, I don't know what it was.
Intentionally causing you to hear it everywhere. Like, it sort of sounds like it's playing very low in the Base of Rules card theme, but it's hard to completely make out. There's also an instance where it might be playing in the song Circus and the World Revolving, 2 songs associated with Jevil. Because of the extremely possible connection Jevil might have to Gaster, I am not ruling this out at all, but it's not an immediately obvious example. You can see how this could get tricky.
Maybe.
Gaster's theme does, however, play very clearly in the background melody for Card Castle. I will not let that go. That is what's playing. And it has to be playing at that song in the very beginning where the guy who sounds like he's Gaster is speaking to us. It's just missing a note in the middle.
Almost like it's corrupted the way that everything else that Gaster touches is corrupted.
I'm not going to pretend that ridiculously talented musician and known leitmotif enthusiast Toby Fox didn't know what tune he was using so clearly for the main melody.
Yeah,
there's
100%.
A lot of fan speculation and headcanons around Gaster. He is the perfect combination of vague mystery and just enough information to work with. There's a very popular assumption that Dr. Gaster is Sans and Papyrus's father. This headcanon is not at all unfounded, even if there is no real implication of it in even the most buried of information. The reason people think this is due to things like Sans' Gaster Blasters. They are part of his own unique monster magic, but are distinctly named after another character, you know, like he's inherited them or something. There's also the vague possibility that Papyrus also has these, that they were part of his special attack that the annoying dog ruined. This is inferred from when you and Papyrus hang out if you spare him after doing the kill everyone route up to that point. If you look at his box of bones, he says it's his special attack that could have blasted you had he used it. Too vague to...
Does the music change when you... Genocide route is so...
prove anything, but notable enough to not dismiss it entirely. There's also the fact that it's rare to see multiple types of the same prominently featured monsters that aren't related or somehow connected. Every boss monster is related. Toriel and Asgore were married and Azrael is their son. Outside of them, there are no other goats. Napstablook, Mad Dummy, the Ruins Dummy, and Mettaton are the only ghosts and are all said to be cousins. It's
They're
a
all
very
ghosts and they're cousins.
I
think someone said that in my comment section. Oh my.
Father is commonly assumed, but it's not our only option.
That's why they live together.
He could be a third brother or a cousin.
Sorry, I spoke over that. I got excited about Mettaton. I'm going to play that back.
Are the only ghosts and are all said to be cousins. It's a very sense-making assumption that all the skeletons are related to each other. Father is commonly assumed, but it's not our only option. He could be a third brother or a cousin. And this is going to sound very tinfoil hat, but there's a song found in the files of the Undertale demo called Grandpa Semi, likely referring to Semi-Serif, a font. Grandpa Semi seems to be a genuinely scrap character rather than a fake scrap character like Gaster. More proof of this is that if you mess with the concept art and notes Toby posted to his Twitter, you can see the writing on the back bleeding through, and Grandpa Semi is clearly written. This was a character at some point early on. It is also possible that this character might have morphed into Gaster
and
over
I
the
love
course of
this.
development. So Gaster might be their grandfather.
Can your grandfather do this? Hey, ha, hoo, hey, ha, hoo, hey, ha. Oh.
Sadly, I have no smoking gun for the skeleton family claims, but there is one more thing
That's very compelling, though.
Very, very interesting.
Stop!
The vaguest, most unprovable thing I want to bring up, just because it's so simultaneously mysterious and hilarious, is on Toby's aforementioned notes. On the notes for Papyrus, it says, has a brother named Comic Sans and a blank named blank.
What?
I had the thought that maybe this was blacked out because it's early info that didn't go anywhere and he doesn't want to confuse anyone with thrown out concept art. But then why didn't he black out the whole thing? Why leave the end A and name?
It was very intentional
in there. Toby knew exactly what he was doing.
Yes,
when he
exactly. Written and edited by Misty Sparkles. Give me money of Ko-Fi. I need more RAM. This video took a month to edit. Please, God help me. You heard Misty. Go right now. Ko-Fi. Spend your money on them. Not me, them, please. I sat here and just enjoyed this video and they did a whole lot of work. So please, listen, look at this. Do you see this? Do it. Holy cow. There is so much information there. There's so much to unpack. I am so ready. I feel like a real fan now. I understand things. How long are we waiting? How long do we wait before we riot? Misty Sparkles, thank you so much for this fantastic video. I literally could not have done this without you. The fan theories and information you've collected must have taken a really, really long time. And for that, I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I love this fandom.